This is The Wheel Weaves, a Wheel of Time podcast with no spoilers. This podcast is safe for first-time readers because it's made by me, a first-time reader. I'm your host, Danny, and I'm the one who's taken on the task of reading through this 15-book mega-series. I'm joined by my co-host, Brett, who's a longtime fan, and he's acting as my tour guide on this journey. Before we get into our episode today, we want to recognize and welcome our first 3 patrons to the Wheel Weaves Patreon team. Joe Lott, Paul Dunn, and Liza at nerd_up have all made generous contributions to help us make great content. We appreciate all of the support we've received, whether it's a positive comment or a donation on Patreon. It all helps to make us even better. We also want to give a shout out to all of our listeners around the world. At time of recording today, we have downloads in Canada, United States, Brazil, United Kingdom, Australia, Russia, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, France, Italy, Romania, Austria, Germany, Sweden, Israel, Netherlands, Norway, Hungary, Bulgaria, India, Turkey, Spain, New Zealand, Japan, China, Chile, and Mexico. If you're in a country that we might have missed or our stats might not quite be up to date, you can give us a shout on social media and we'll make sure to recognize you next time. This is an extra special episode because not only do we have our very first guest, Spencer, one of my very best friends, on, but we're also covering 2 chapters. We cover Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. And just a side note here, please excuse some of the audio as we did record this episode over the internet 1,000 kilometers apart and we ran into some difficulties, but I think we strung it together to make it work, so please enjoy. Let's get right into it. How are you doing, Spencer?
I'm doing really good. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing good.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on for this these 2 chapters.
Our first official guest.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've listened to a few of your episodes and I was really nervous. Brett appears to be an expert and I had no idea. So I read the chapters very diligently so I could feel like I was hopefully up to Brett's standards.
Okay, so full disclosure, we are recording a bunch of episodes in advance before we release any. So you are the first and only one to hear our episodes so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm glad I fooled you into thinking I'm an expert, so that's good.
I would also have classified you as an expert.
Yeah.
So Spencer, you are my best friend. So not only is my husband super into this book series, but my best friend of 15 years is also an avid fan, and I am still just a newbie. So Spencer, can you tell us a little bit how you got into this? Would you consider yourself a little bit of an expert?
Well, I don't know if expert's the right word, but I'm obviously passionate about this series. I've read the whole thing, and I think anyone who makes it through this series, even one time, can be considered a fan. I got into this series as a kid. My uncle was really into this series and kind of got his brothers, my dad, into it. And I remember as a kid camping with all my extended family and my cousins. There's a whole whackload of us. And I remember every night, climbing into the tent trailer and begging our dads, please, just tell us a little bit more about Rand. Come on, just before bed.
So it was like literally campfire stories in your family.
Absolutely, yes.
Tell you tales of Rand al'Thor.
Yeah, we loved it. We ate it all up. And so then as we got older, me and most of my cousins started reading them ourselves. I think there's only a few of us who actually made it to the end, but it's a big deal in our family.
Yeah, well, good job.
Yeah, and the series is a marathon, so I can understand some people not making it all the way through, but...
So how many times have you read it through then?
Well, the first time I read it, I only made it to about, I think, book 7. And I don't know, I think at that point that series was probably only up to 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And so with no more books coming out, I kind of lost interest. And then I reread the whole thing, I don't know, maybe 5 years back and made it through to the end right around the time that the last book came out.
That makes sense.
And have you reread it since then or no?
I have not. So this is my first reread and I am so excited.
So we've just inspired you?
Yeah. I'm already, I'm almost a third through the first book already since you guys started, and I can't stop.
All right. I guess that's what makes an avid fan. I've been getting, to be honest, especially after these episodes, I've been getting a little frustrated having to stop reading.
Absolutely.
That part's been tough for me because we have to record our episode before I go on so that my predictions can be as genuine as possible.
Yeah, I can see how that would be pretty tough to stop after each chapter.
Yeah, especially after these ones. This is the most action we've seen yet, and I'm so excited because it's, to be honest, been a little boring. I'm glad we've stopped meeting, just new people every chapter. It's been a little repetitive. Great information, but I'm ready for the action.
Well, I feel like that's it. These chapters are the first time in the book that we start to get into the story. It's not so much setting the scene anymore, but something actually happens. So
yeah, it's super exciting. So the chapter we're going to get into right away here, chapter 5, Winternight.
Yes. Beltane is almost here.
Gosh, I've just been waiting, Spencer. I've been waiting so long for Beltane to just finally be here. They've hyped it up so much. And I don't know if you've heard yet, but I've predicted that it's going to be a terrible Beltane because they're so excited for it.
I've heard that prediction. I'm interested to see how it turns out now.
Yeah. Okay. So in chapter 5, there's a new picture, and it's a little bit ominous and spooky. And the picture is of a bear tree and a full moon, and just maybe a little foreshadowing of something happening tonight. So this Winternight title is not as clear as the other titles. The Gleeman, we're meeting the Gleeman. The Peddler, we're meeting the Peddler. The Strangers, we're meeting the Strangers. But Winternight, leaves it a little open-ended. Like, what's going to happen?
And also, it's supposed to be spring. So what's going to happen?
Right. Ooh, so spooky. Okay, so where we last left Tam and Rand, they were walking home from Emmons Field. And Tam had just let Rand know that the whole village council has believed these boys about what they saw, and they know something sort of spooky is up. They've heard about the war, and so now they're headed home just to be safe to spend the night at the farm rather than in the village. So they're returning back to their farm. The sun stood halfway down from its noonday high by the time they reached the farmhouse, and I think this is just a really complicated way of saying that it's evening.
Yeah, it's getting dark.
Yeah. Yeah, they couldn't just say that, though. No.
It's not descriptive.
That's not Robert Jordan.
No. Okay, so most people in the Two Rivers have generations of families living in their houses. So Rand and Tam are kind of oddities here.
Yeah, not just because they are the ones who farm in the Westwood, right? Because it's a really harsh land. Because they're the only two guys on this farm. And 3 to 4 generations in one house. That's like aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. Like everybody's just crammed under one roof to help with the farm, but these two guys are just kind of doing it by themselves
on their own.
Yeah,
brothers are doing it for themselves.
Well, they're not brothers.
It's the song Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves.
Is that a song?
Yes.
Okay.
I also don't know that song.
Oh, guys, come on. Okay, fine, moving on. So the first thing that they do is start looking around the farm for clues that the Black Rider has been to the farm. They seem really paranoid. Tam even checks to see if something was done to the well water. Once they decide that nothing is out of order, Tam says, well, while we're here, let's do some chores.
Yeah, sounds fun. Best way to spend winter night.
Yeah, oh man. Rand thinks about his friends having fun for winter night in Emmons Field, but he does his chores with his quiver and his bow close by just in case, and he's not a complainer, so he just gets right to it.
Yeah, so when we're looking at Tam, the first thing that kind of caught my eye in this chapter is Tam actually doing his rounds. He does such a thorough sweep of every individual thing. It's kind of funny because who checks a well for poisoned water, right?
Yeah.
Like I can understand you can, check the barn, you can check the house, you can look for tracks, which is clearly what he's doing. He's doing a sweep of the land, right? Looking for tracks from this rider, but he also goes so far to test the water in the well. Yeah,
and my initial thought at this point was if this rider has any interest in this farm, he's probably not like a sneaky, underhanded, I'm going to put some poison in the water.
Yeah, someone poisoned the water hole.
Yeah. But no, so whatever. They're just being paranoid.
Yeah. I mean, Tam's keeping a spear nearby too. Like Rand is a little bit paranoid with his bow, but Tam is also having a spear right by. So that's actually helping Rand kind of feel more at ease that it's not just him going crazy.
Yeah, he feels less silly about having his bow at the ready.
So before we go forward into the next part here, I just had a question for you. So we know that every house pretty much in the Two Rivers has generations and generations in one house.
Yep.
What do you think happened to all of Tam and Rand's family?
Okay, well, that's an interesting question because we know for sure that Rand's mother is dead for quite a long time. But we also learn a little bit later on in this chapter that she's what they call a, quote, outlander.
Yeah, so not from there.
She's not from there. So there's a good chance that her whole family obviously isn't from there either. And then what was Tam doing out there? Maybe he's actually not originally from there either.
Okay, that's a fair guess.
So
we don't really know.
No.
Okay.
But that would be my prediction.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay, so when Tam finally tells Rand it's time for supper, the full moon is high in the sky, and it already seems like we're building to something exciting, because I don't think full moons happen in books where nothing exciting happens. Just quite honestly here. Like, I've been waiting for this, and, you know, the picture was of a full moon, and now it's a full moon, so...
Well, and I think it's funny that Rand makes a joke after all this build-up about Beltane and it being the best Beltane ever, and he makes a joke to Tam, I might sleep through it. It's been a busy day.
Yeah, and he goes, oh yeah, I'll take that bet. So they go in for supper, and there's candles lit, and the fire's going, and the stew is stewing, and Tam takes out a huge key and locks the door behind them, and by Rand's questioning look here, I think that means that this hasn't been done in a long time. And then right away, we actually find out that I'm right. And it's actually never been locked.
Yeah, not in Rand's memory.
Yeah, and turns out no one in the Two Rivers locks their doors. So, like, even, like, it's not just their farm and there's no one around, so they don't lock it. It's like even in the village, people don't bother locking their doors.
Well, everyone knows everyone.
And what I also think is interesting about this part is it specifically mentions Tam lighting lots of candles. It's not just a couple, it's quite a few, which seems interesting because, I mean, it's just the two of them. They finish their chores, they're going to have a bath and go to bed. I find that piece, why?
Yeah, I just thought maybe because it's so cold and they've just come back from this journey, I just thought maybe for, like, warmth and light, I don't know.
Tam does seem to be being, like, overly cautious about everything too.
Yeah, but I also do think that later on in this chapter we find out why, which is interesting that you've said that because I didn't even pick up on that. So, good one, Spence. Point 1 for you. Yes. So Tam goes to lock the back door. He says it's best to be safe, and he comes back, and Rand is surprised that Tam has a thick belt with a sword hanging from it.
Shocking!
Whoa! So it seems like quite a magnificent sword with a bronze heron on the scabbard and one on the hilt. And Rand has only ever seen Merchant's Guard carrying a sword before, and then now, today, he saw Lan carrying one.
Yeah.
And that's, like, the only time in his life he's ever seen a sword, and now his dad just has one.
Well, Tam has, like, the big old trunk under his bed upstairs that's clearly full of, like, secretive items, and Rand clearly has never gone searching in this, too.
And I mean, Rand describes the sword as looking a lot like Lan's, which I think is interesting. I mean, it doesn't necessarily even look like the swords he's seen on merchants up until this point. It looks a lot more Rand than that.
Yeah, and so understandably, Rand has a shit ton of questions. Like, where'd you get it from? Did you get it from the peddler? How much did it cost? Rand seems to be kind of in awe. Like, wow, Dad, I didn't know you were so cool.
He's a cool dad.
Yeah, he's not like a regular dad.
Cool dad.
Yeah,
when I first read through this, I had no idea what a heron was either.
Oh, it's a bird.
I had no idea. For probably the first 2-3 books that I'd read through, I thought a heron was just like a marking, like a star or something on the sword.
That's not in your famous glossary?
No, I don't think I read that, so. Yeah.
Okay, so
bird.
A bird, yeah, just a simple bird.
Yeah.
So Tam says he got it a long time ago, but a long way from here, which is super cool because that means he has ventured away from the Two Rivers before after all of this talk for the past chapters about how Rand thinks no one ever leaves the Two Rivers.
And then his dad has gone apparently far, far away.
Far away,
yeah.
Right.
So how much truth do you think we're getting out of Tam in this?
I think we might be getting some truth. I think that he did get it a long way from here a long time ago.
Yeah.
But then he goes on to say, your mother didn't approve and she wanted me to get rid of it. Sometimes I think she was right about that. Like, maybe that's true.
Yeah. Do you think he paid 2 coppers?
Yeah, that's the piece that I'm worried about.
He didn't say that. He said I shouldn't even have paid. 2 coppers would be too much for it.
Yeah, he said 2 coppers is
it
too
isn't
much.
worth.
I paid entirely too much. So he's kind of implying that he paid 2 coppers, but
I don't buy that. No, I didn't pick up on that. No, I don't think that. I don't think so. So then Rand is just shocked. What? No way! How could you ever give a sword like that away? So just a simple retort. Oh, it's not much use hurting sheep. Like, okay.
Casual.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a farmer. What do I need a sword for? Yeah, so they're like, why do you have it?
Yeah.
Hello?
Maybe he's not just a farmer.
Yeah, he clearly hasn't always been just a sheep farmer here. So some definite insight into Tam and his background. But he has brought it out because it might be of use to us now. And that's that. Time for supper. No more questions. Question time's over. So Rand's mind is whirling with questions for his dad about the sword and where he had gone to get it. And he knew his dad must have left before because he knows his mother was an outlander. So this is where we get even more information about Rand's background here, about how his mom wasn't from the Two Rivers. And so he's always known that his dad had to have left the Two Rivers because that's where he met his mother.
Yeah, and it does seem like Rand, like she must have died a long time ago since he really doesn't know anything about his mom.
Yeah.
And probably hasn't been a conversation that he's had with his father, apparently.
Well, no, this is all a huge shock to Rand, all of this.
Yeah.
Like, this has been one day.
Yeah.
This has been a hell of a day for Rand.
Yeah, long day.
They are getting ready to dish out the stew for dinner. And all of a sudden, there's a thump at the door. And it's more of a bang than a knock here. And they start to say, maybe it's one of the neighbors. But then the closest neighbor is like an hour away. And it's night and there's a full moon. So that doesn't seem right.
They're just trying to convince themselves that it's okay, but...
And to be fair, like, these guys have lived in seclusion for so long. What else would it be?
Yeah.
Right? Logically, in Rand's mind.
But, I guess, but they're getting ready. Like, they're paranoid. He's got his sword. They're locking the doors. Like, it's almost like they were anticipating something.
Yeah.
Well, Tam was, anyway.
Tam probably, for sure.
Yes. Probably, definitely. So... and it doesn't really seem like a nice little neighborly knock, so also concerning. Tam puts the bowls of stew down, and then the door busts open, and pieces of the iron lock go spinning across the floor, so much for locking the door.
And holy smokes, action scene.
Action scene, go. Woo! So the door is busted open by someone who is bigger than any man Rand has ever seen. He's a scary dude with a big scythe-like sword, and Rand notes that this is definitely not the Black Rider, because that did obviously cross his mind. The only thing that's been on his mind all day, but this guy might be even worse.
Well, considering he's carrying a huge sword, he touches the top of the door frame
with his horns.
With his horns, and we know roughly how tall Rand is, right?
Yeah,
and
tall.
If this guy's way bigger, like that's terrifying.
And he has a muzzle.
Yeah, big scary monster creature.
So this guy is some sort of creature with ram horns. He has a hairy muzzle, where a mouth should be. So I'm thinking that this is probably a Trolloc. Trolloc?
Yeah, Trolloc.
Because realistically, what the hell else could this be?
Yeah, we haven't really been introduced to any other big scary murder monsters, really.
Right.
And the book is pretty specific. I mean, it's part human, part animal. It goes into the smells, the sounds. There's not a lot of choices.
Yeah.
No, and it kind of reminds me of like an orc.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Just sort of like a monster that does bidding for the bad guys.
Yes.
So Rand happened to be taking the iron kettle out of the fire, and without thinking, he hurtles the hot kettle at the guy's head, and boom, distracted. Tam flashes his sword and gets him.
Yeah. So this scene is actually pretty interesting because that's a good first reaction by Rand to throw the boiling hot water. Like, that's a pretty good
and the big heavy iron hot kettle, too.
Yeah.
Not just splash water in his face.
Yeah.
Not just water.
He hucks the whole thing at his head.
And to think about how fast Tam is, like, he's an older dude, and he gets from Rand being able to throw the kettle at this monster, Tam's across the floor with the sword and kills it.
Gets it.
Yeah, in like half a split second here.
Right. In my notes, I have in big brackets, in capital, wow, Tam.
Wow, Tam.
Yeah, I think I wrote down Tam is a badass.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I have here, Tam has definitely used this sword before.
Yeah, he knows what's up. He didn't just
This
buy
wasn't just like something, oh, it's flashy and nice and interesting. I think I'll have it and hang it in my living room. No, he's definitely used it before and probably on Trollocs.
Yeah. It's like the people who buy like those samurai swords and put them up in their living room.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. He's not one of those people.
Yeah, but oh no. So just as this guy is falling over, another one is clambering to get in. Tam gets this one too. Go Tam!
Yeah.
So exciting. So then he yells at Ron to go run, hide in the woods. And it's all crazy, and more of these creatures are trying to get in, and Tam is yelling, go out the back. And the huge dining room table, he flips it over to try to block them, and Tam yells, just go, I'll follow you.
Yeah, so hero dad Tam is...
It's like Liam Neeson in Taken.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100% protect your child mode here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like how they describe Rand as he's running away, just turning in shame.
Yeah, he's ashamed with himself.
Yeah,
for,
which
like,
is a totally normal reaction.
When I was thinking, like, no, don't leave. I really like Tam.
Yeah, don't let Tam
Don't let Tam die. So Rand's turning away to run, yeah, and he feels shame for not staying to help, but he's really scared, and he runs really fast to the back of the house, but he gets to the door and it's locked. And apparently you need a key to unlock it even from the inside.
And this is awesome because the fact of Tam locking the front and the back door literally saves both their lives. Because if you think about it, if Tam hadn't locked the front door, that first bang on the door was probably the Trolloc trying to kick the door in, and they'd have no reaction time to defend themselves. Yeah. And if he hadn't locked the back door, Rand would have just gone out the back door and ran straight into a bunch of other Trollocs and probably gotten murdered right there.
Yeah.
So Tam literally saved him by locking the doors.
Good, and quick thinking, because he had just done that.
Yeah.
So it's locked, and Rand darts to the side window. At this moment, something is now trying to get in the back door too. So he slips through the window and cowers against the side of the house. So he peeks inside the window, and the back door is now broken into and hung askew, and the shadows are moving all around the room, but slowly and cautiously, talking in a low, guttural voice with in a harsh language that for sure is not a human language. So right away we know these guys are bad.
Yeah, they're bad, and they're not just animalistic completely, like they have language.
Right.
So they're not just wild monsters necessarily.
Right, they're organized.
Yeah, at least to a degree.
Yeah. So I'm worried about Tam here. Did he hide? Did he get out too? Is he dead? Why is everything so quiet and they're moving slowly? Where'd he go? What's going on? So Rand seems to think that Tam must be hiding because he yells as loudly as his dry mouth will let him, they're coming in the back. I'm outside. Run, father. And then he takes off running. And the creatures roar about and glass shatters, and they have broken through the window after him. So Rand is running towards the woods and does a fake out, dropping down an army crawling to behind the barn in the shadows. Crazy action scene.
Yeah, it's wild.
So one of my major points of this chapter that I really, really appreciate is that Rand in this moment is literally just a kid, right? Like, he's not the hero out of an action story. There's so many book series where they start off with the protagonist being a character who can defend himself, or a character who's going to, fight off a bunch of monsters. And
I don't know, he hucked the thing at the guy's head pretty fast.
Yeah, well, he did that, but then the rest is running and the rest is fear.
And hiding.
Yeah.
Right? And he berates himself over and over again throughout this chapter about how he's ashamed and he's just fearful and he's thinking about himself as a stupid kid. And that's really at the heart of it what he is. So I really appreciate the fact that this guy, Rand, it's a very realistic portrait of what probably most people would actually do.
Yeah, I guess so. So he's hiding behind the barn now. And something falls across his shoulders and he just freaks out, but it turns out it's just the handle of a hoe. And yeah, I'm going to say that a lot. So if you get your giggles out right now.
Handle of a hoe.
Handle of a hoe. And he feels like an idiot, but not just a regular idiot, a Copland fool idiot. And just like another...
Oh, those Coplans.
Yeah, just another sneaky jab at those Coplands. So he takes the hoe handle as his weapon, should he need it, and he's looking around for danger. So suddenly Tam leaps out a window, and after there's a bunch of steel-on-steel clangs. So yay, he's alive!
Yeah, he's been in the house fighting off these monsters for a little while.
Well, not necessarily fighting them off. I think he did sort of hide for a bit, because when Rand peeked in the window, they were moving around slowly, like looking.
Well, from the back, the ones coming in the back door he was watching.
Oh,
Tam's at the front of the house
I guess
still.
I'm just picturing this house a little bit smaller than maybe it actually is.
Yeah, the house is a little bit bigger. So Tam's at the front of the house. The Trollocs are coming in the back of the house where Rand jumped to the window, and Rand shouts, "They're coming in the back," so that Tam's got a little bit of warning so that he doesn't get surrounded.
Yeah. And presumably Tam can't see from where he is that they're coming in the back. Otherwise, Rand wouldn't have felt the need to yell that.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, or heard the door being kicked in, stuff like that.
Okay. But then instead of running away, he runs to the back of the house looking for Rand.
Yeah, and that's just where he heard his voice coming from.
Yeah, so Rand realizes this and yells out, "Father, I'm over here!" And Rand whirls around and starts running at an angle away from him, probably because there's a chance he's being followed, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. That Tam always thinking about his boy.
Yeah, definitely. That's the only thing he really seems to be concerned about here.
Well, Tam's actually really smart to kind of keep his head in this situation too, right? Like he's going to lead these Trollocs away from where Rand was and then hopefully circle back.
Yeah, because Tam yells, "Run, hide!" And at least a dozen big figures are running after him with shrill howls shivering the air. So this is a very descriptive, very scary, bad business.
Yeah, big scary murder.
Well, I feel like as you read this chapter, every time Tam does something, you're like, oh, interesting. He seems like he knows what he's doing. He's prepared. Then he does something else, and it's like, holy, what has Tam been through? What is going on? He is doing everything right. Like, this is not a farmer. This is not a farmer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a spot on.
So Rand pulls back into the shadows of the barn and decides he has to go help Tam. So he takes his useless weapon, the hoe handle, and starts creeping through the woods.
Excellent.
So the howls of Tam's pursuers die away, and every sound of rustling tree branches really freaks Rand out. And I don't know how he's going to help Tam fight out in the woods, but okay.
With a hoe.
Yeah, with the hoe handle. Like, what are you doing, bud?
Again, this is the fear taking over. He is literally a kid in this situation.
But he's like, yes, I'm going to help. But now he's just like creeping through the woods all quiet. And then like a rustling tree branch is like, whoa, what was that? Ah! Whoa, who's there? What's going on? Just like that, right? So suddenly there's a hand over his mouth from behind and something grabs his wrist. So he freaks out. But it's Tam who immediately regrets this decision. And he says, it's me. Don't break my neck. Well, he whispers it really quietly. He goes, hey, don't break my neck. It's me. Like that. And he goes, I wouldn't have tried that if I'd have thought about how much you've grown, but I had to make sure you didn't speak. Trollocs have excellent hearing. And now we have confirmation that is exactly what these are.
Yeah, at least that's what Tam's saying. Rand still thinks they're just out of stories.
Well, then Rand starts to say Trollocs are just from stories. Then he realizes that's not true anymore, and they are real, and they just were attacked by them. But he sort of asked Tam what he knows about them. Like, how do you know so much about them?
Yeah, and Tam 100% knows what's up. He's like, I'm sure these are Trollocs. Like, I know.
Yeah. So Tam says he's not sure why they're here. Tam says he doesn't know much about them, but then he just goes off and he just keeps sort of listing more and more things that he knows about them.
Well, doesn't he say that he's never seen them, but he's heard from men who have? Okay, Tam. Like,
yeah. I don't really buy that one.
I believe you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but somebody who has seen them told me about all of this, right? So a Trolloc can see better than men in the dark, but light practically blinds them, and that's how Tam got away. They are good trackers, but are lazy, so if they lay low, hopefully they will get bored and go away. All we really know is that they are dumb, and they like killing, and probably, in quotes here, serve the Dark One. And then we get a new nickname for the guy, Shepherd of the Night.
Yeah, like that's a new name for the Dark One.
Yeah, but it's all the same.
Yeah, just fancy names.
Yeah, so what I was thinking here basically is he says, I don't know much about them, and then goes off to list everything about them.
Yeah, all the critical information to know about these monsters.
He knows.
Yeah. You know what? He's just an avid reader. He likes to read books.
Yeah, maybe that's it. So then Rand notices that Tam is injured, and Tam says, shh, it's no big deal. We'll just stay out here tonight. And I just start thinking, like, they must be hungry. They never got their bowls of stew. What do you mean stay out there tonight?
Yeah, they've had a really long day. Like, they got up at sunrise, or like before the sun was up. They did all a day's worth of chores before they walked to Emmons Field. They walked to Emmons Field. They unloaded carts. They walked back to the farm. They did more chores, and they've barely eaten anything. So
and now they've had a whole battle scene.
Yeah, they're hangry.
Yeah, well, maybe.
I would be.
Rand touches Tam's face, and he has a pretty bad fever. So Rand says, we have to get you to Nynaeve. And I'm just thinking, how the heck are you going to get all the way back to the village in the middle of the dark, in the middle of the night, when it's pitch black out, and there's all these Trollocs all around? Like, oh my
Seems
God.
like a real problem.
Yeah, how's that going to even work?
Very carefully, hopefully.
So Tam is really tired and objects, but Rand takes over and says, no way, we have to go now. It's a long way, especially in the dark.
Yeah, because it's probably a couple hours to actually get there, right? Because it probably took like 2 or 3 hours to walk there in the morning, 2 or 3 hours to walk back. So if they're going to be moving slower, like...
It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
So in an act of bravery, he takes Tam's sword and decides to go back to the house for blankets and to get Bella and the cart. And he has a few moments of self-doubt here. So another instance of his confidence being really lacking here. A lot of self-doubt. Really self-conscious, really. He just doesn't really think he's good enough for any of this.
Which makes 100% make sense, right? Like, absolutely, he's not ready for this. The only thing he's done is, sword fight with sticks in the forest before, and now he just has his dad's sword.
But what is amazing about Rand is that despite all that, he's aware of his shortcomings, and he realizes this is his only option, so he's got to do it.
Got to do it anyway. Okay, so he army crawls out of the forest and over to the barn. So he decides to go to the house before he gets Bella and the cart, because the house is lit up and the barn is not. And so it's probably best to go where it's light.
Yeah, versus dark and scary.
Because you don't know what's in the barn, so he's going to go to the house first. So on the way there, he actually discovers that all the sheep are dead and everything is silent. So all poor little sheepies.
And not just sheepies, right? There's no sounds.
Yeah, I know.
And we know that Bella came back.
I just said, and my notes here say, but wait, is Bella okay?
Yeah, I wrote Bella ?
Yeah, I just liked her. She was the coolest horse.
She was the coolest horse.
Okay, well, you know what? I still have a little bit of hope for her.
Okay.
Like maybe, because the sheep are all dead and in a pile.
And the cow and Bella are gone.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Okay.
So he gets to the house and it's a mess. So there's pieces of furniture all broken everywhere, smashed and hacked, and there's flour all over the place, and everything's just in crazy disarray. There's a pile of 4 twisted bodies, which are, we're assuming, Trollocs. So we get some more descriptions here.
What I find interesting about this scene is that we get some description of the Trollocs who are presumably dead on the floor. And what's fascinating is that they're not uniform. The Trollocs, some of them have feet and are wearing boots, while others are wearing hooves. Some have human mouths that can kind of form words, and some have muzzles. It's just, it's a mixed match. They're part human, they're part animal, but they're not even consistently that way.
Yeah.
They're monsters.
Yeah, same, but different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it says right in the book they're similar but with minor differences. And Rand is really, really quiet because he thinks, he's waiting for them to move or jump up at him. But he really is cautious and makes sure they're dead before he starts looking around for stuff he needs. But unfortunately, he doesn't wait long enough.
Yeah.
Because he hears a sound behind him and one of the Trollocs is getting up. So it turns out not dead.
Shoot.
So this is Narg.
Yeah, Narg the Trolloc.
Yeah, Narg is really modest. He says words that are hard to understand. Narg smart.
I've never heard a Trolloc impression before, but I think if there was one, that was a top-notch one.
Yeah, I was really...
Probably spot on,
I was practicing it. No, just kidding.
They're actually doing casting for the TV show right now.
Yeah.
So...
I could play Narg.
Yeah.
I'm a little too small.
I don't know if you're big enough to be a Trolloc.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, though, Brett.
They can do like side, shooting a different look bigger.
Yeah,
right?
you got lots of makeup.
Yeah.
I hope you're not saying I look like a Trolloc.
I hope not to.
So he goes, Narg smart. No, I can't do it. I'm laughing. Narg smart. Narg stay. Narg no some come back. Narg wait. You no need sword. Put sword down. So in pretty good English.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Why say lot word when few word do trick?
And you know what's funny is that when you were doing the notes for this chapter, you said you started laughing, and I said, "What are you laughing at?"
This is what I was laughing at.
Yeah, and then you'll see where I wrote down in my notes.
Why use a lot word when fewer do trick?
The same.
I thought that your joke was going to be that.
Aww.
And I was right.
Guys, this is true love right here.
It seems that way. It certainly seems that way.
There's an office quote for everything, Spencer.
Yeah, there is. We're doing a study.
Yeah.
It's very scientific.
Okay, so Rand has pointed the sword at the Trolloc, and this guy is just huge, but don't worry, Narg no hurt.
Well, and what I put in my notes, I don't have that same Office quote. I didn't watch The Office, but I thought, this guy speaks English, so is he correct? Is he a smart Trolloc?
Well, he's probably smarter than the other ones because he stayed behind. He pleased playing.
He really is. He's right. Yeah, he speaks English, kind of.
Narg's smart.
And he's also trying to negotiate. So besides the funny, shorthand English here, he's literally trying to negotiate for Rand to stick around to meet.
you no need sword.
Yeah. It's like, okay, scary monster.
Yeah. Narg no hurt. So Rand asks in a not so steady voice, still pointing the sword at the guy, why did you do this? Like, why did you come here? What the hell's going on? I don't know what he's hoping for. A legitimate answer from Narg?
Yeah. Narg's eloquent. You never know.
And he's not being attacked immediately.
Eloquent
so
for a Trolloc, I suppose. So Narg says something in another language.
Probably that guttural language she heard before.
Yeah, like he's like mad. He's like, don't ask me questions, I ask you questions. That's what I assume that.
Okay. Probably.
So I'm gonna need some help
so
with
he
pronunciation
says,
here.
So put sword down, Narg no hurt, Murdral.
Oh my god.
Want talk you.
Extra D, extra A.
Yeah, it's fancy.
Murdral want talk you.
But it's excellent because Rand knows what this is and immediately starts calling it a fade, and then we never have to say the word again.
Yeah.
That's true. So it's clear that this is someone who the Trolloc is scared of. And he says, others come back. You talk my drawl. So what we get from Rand here is that Madral is the worst of all the stories. He's something called a fade.
Yeah. We've also heard them referred to as shadow men.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah. So back in chapter 1, when Rand and Matt are talking, they refer to it as a shadow man. So yeah. It's on par with like the dark one, apparently.
Yeah. So he thinks quickly because he knows what this fade is, and it's like this creepy thing that can like go through walls or something crazy. What do you know about a fade, Spence?
Well, she probably knows lots about fades.
Yeah,
but I know.
What's in this chapter is that they're 20 feet tall, no walls can stop them, and they're invisible when they turn sideways. Yeah. So that sounds terrifying.
Yeah,
it's basically like all the worst things out of all the stories. Like these are the things that the Trollocs are afraid of.
Right. And like he thought Trollocs were scary. So like, and if these things are going to make Trollocs look like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Cupcake,
and Tam,
the only word that comes to my head.
Yeah. A page before, Tam said that Trollocs will listen to something they're afraid of. And Rand has that thought in the back of his mind of what would a Trolloc be afraid of? And well, the answer here is a fade. So apparently this thing's coming to negotiate or talk with him.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So he quickly drops his hands to his side, but he's not letting go of the sword, which is good. Smart. Yeah. And he says, "Sure, I'll talk." So he thinks, okay, if I look like I'm surrendering here, maybe he won't attack me. And I don't know.
Some time. Who knows?
I don't really know if he has an actual plan at this point or if it's moment by moment. But at this, the Trolloc lunges at him, and so Rand desperately brings up his sword, and the huge Narg slams into him, and the Trolloc spasms and goes still. So Rand thankfully got his sword up in time and kills the Trolloc, but there is blood everywhere.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting thing to think about now. So Narg this whole time is saying he's a smart one. He plays dead. He gets up. He tries to negotiate with Rand to get the Madral to come and talk to him. But then as soon as Rand drops the sword, he attacks.
Yeah.
So do you think that the Madral actually wants to talk with Rand?
Yeah, was it a real negotiation or was that Narg's?
No, I think it was a real negotiation, but then when he saw the opportunity to attack, his like animal instincts took over.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That's my thinking on that, because I don't know if he's smart enough to come up with
that in detail
an
plan.
in-depth plan to trick Rand. Like, I don't think that. I think that
Narg's not smart enough for deception.
He's not smart enough for deception. No way. So I think that this fade is probably coming, and probably there's other Trollocs coming back, and then Narg sees a chance to attack, and he does.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and Rand being able to kill this Trolloc is, like you said, 100% just luck. Right?
I don't even know if it is, though. I know they mentioned that later on about he thinks that it was just luck, but I think there's also some skill there. He's quick. He has great reaction time. He knew what to do with stick him with the pointy end.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they fall to the ground, and Rand doesn't even know he got his sword up in time.
Yeah.
He's like surprised.
Yeah.
So the skill is the reaction time, because he did throw that pot of hot water fast.
Real fast in his face.
Yeah. There's no sword skill here, though.
Yeah. You know what else I also want to know about here? What are other Trolloc names?
That's a good question. Narg, Blarg, Garg, probably.
You think they all rhyme?
They probably all rhyme.
They kind of remind me of like goblins in Harry Potter. How they all have like names like Grip Hook and probably others. That's
There's her Harry Potter knowledge right there.
But that's just what it sort of reminds me of. But
absolutely.
Those funny names like that. Okay, so Narg dead. And
yeah, Narg dead.
And Rand thinks about how Narg said others are coming back. So he races around to collect everything he might need. And then he runs out to the barn to discover that Bella and the cow are gone.
Yeah.
But not laying in a dead heap on the floor.
Yeah, not wet and bloody, so.
No, their stall doors have been knocked off and they ran away.
Okay, so that's your opinion is
yeah, well, you
Bella
know,
and the cow made it out?
I think that this might be one of those series where don't count them dead until you see them die.
Okay.
Kind of like a Game of Thrones type thing where don't count them dead until you see them dead.
That's true. Yeah, because the first time we saw the Hound apparently die.
Yeah, I said right away.
You called it right away and said he's not dead, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we didn't see him die.
Yeah, and they like to show the death scenes.
Right, and I really care about Bella. This is the coolest horse, so I'm really hoping that
cooler
she's
than
okay.
Maureen's horse.
Yeah, and why do you think this horse is so cool? I'm just. So far, she's walked to town and back.
Yeah,
but Bella knows where to bring the spear.
Where to go? She's so smart and steady. She's a cool horse.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have a bond with her. Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
I don't really know Maureen's horse. Like I like Maureen, but I don't know the personality of Maureen's horse.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, so Bella and the cow are gone, but I said maybe she made it out and is okay. But more bad news. The cart is on its side and half the spokes are broken out of its wheels. So shit. How, without a horse and without a cart, how the hell is Rand getting Tam to Nynaeve in the village?
Yeah, does fireman carry him?
This is a problem.
Yeah, but he can't. He's already thought about that, and it's not going to work.
Yeah, and Tam's not a small dude, so.
No. So Rand is actually pretty resourceful here. He creates a makeshift cart out of the shafts, sort of, to pull Tam on. So he starts, like, hacking away. He collects sort of wood that he's going to use or something.
It's basically just like a half cart on his back, on his shoulders, to drag Tam along.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Improvised.
And weird, he hacks this all apart with a sword and it doesn't get dull. But he can't think about that now. He's got to keep going.
Hey, I actually just wrote that. I said, but immediately stops thinking about it now. How super convenient. Yeah. He's like, oh, this blade is cool. It doesn't dull out at all. And he thinks, whoa. And then immediately goes, no time for that.
Yeah,
can't think about that right now.
Well, to be fair, that isn't a very important thing to him right now.
No,
his dad's like dying in the woods.
That's story for later. Okay, so that's convenient. I actually think this might be similar to something like Valyrian steel.
Okay, so like just extra super sharp.
Well, yeah, I mean, he mentions that an axe blade would dull. I don't know what swords are made of in this universe.
Yeah, swords definitely get super dull. You're not supposed to chop wood with swords.
Okay.
In real life, that will for sure mess up your blade.
Okay, but this one, no
problem.
Yeah.
No problem. So he gets back to Tam with all the stuff, and Tam's fever has gotten even worse. Tam sort of rouses into wakefulness because he's kind of passed out, and he says he's been dreaming of days gone, but more like nightmares. So Rand is set on getting them to the village for Tam to see Nynaeve, and he figures they will be safe in the village. The end. And again, hanging on this positive cliffhanger that I just think there's no way will be fulfilled.
Because every positive cliffhanger is just like a slap in the face.
Yeah, except we haven't gotten to Beltane yet. Maybe Beltane still will be good.
Maybe. That's possible.
Maybe.
It's not
Best Beltane ever.
Best Beltane ever.
But yeah, like every chapter ends with like, oh, this is going to be just fine.
There's no way anyone can hurt us with
Yeah.
the village behind us.
Yeah.
Okay, well then now you're in the farmhouse and
Yeah.
Trollocs bust in and try and kill you and destroy your home.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, so that's the end of this chapter. And overall, it has been a really shitty winter night for them. Their house is destroyed by Trollocs. All the sheep are dead. The cow and Bella are gone. And Tam is on the brink of death because of his wound.
Yeah.
One house isn't destroyed. I mean, it just needs a good clean.
Rand actually notes that he can't imagine how it could ever be cleaned up well enough to live in again.
You need like probably 5 good wives to come in and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I bet they would too. They all love Tam.
Oh yeah. Well, I found it kind of funny because like earlier in the chapter, Rand was kind of like mentally talking to himself about how their place isn't as clean as all the other houses are because they don't have a good wife to clean. But it's not bad for 2 guys living there, so
it's tidy. Yeah, it's just not
as
it's lived in. I think that's what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing for a house to be.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions or end tidbits here before we move on to chapter 6?
The only thing I wanted to note was just circling back to how much of a badass Tam is. He killed at least 3 of these Trollocs in the house, and then who knows how many in the forest when he was leading them away. Because how far away do you have to lead these Trollocs? Like there was like a dozen or something in there?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and keep in mind, they have weapons, and they're much taller than Rand, and we know Rand is like the tallest, and these are
bad.
Yeah, so it's really impressive. Tam is there's something with Tam.
There's something for sure. There's something going on there, and I think we're just gonna have to keep an eye out for something. And I think that actually leads us right into chapter 6 right now.
It's true.
It's an immediate continuation. So.
Right, and it's called the Westwood, and my prediction is this chapter will happen in the Westwood.
Good.
What a prediction.
It's crazy, right?
Yep. So there's a picture, a new one here, of a sword hilt, but it doesn't have a heron on it. I thought it might be a little more specific, but these pictures have been relatively vague.
Yeah.
Is that you looking at the picture?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it, okay? Oh, yes. Yes, there's the hilt.
Okay, so realistically, there's not much left to be desired about that. It's a sword and they're fighting.
Yeah, it's just symbolizing the sword that he's carrying, so.
Yeah.
And they couldn't put it at the beginning of the last chapter because it would give the whole thing away.
Well, yeah, for sure. I liked the ominous tree and moon. That was probably my favorite picture yet so far.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't want either the title or the picture to just completely give the chapter away.
Yeah, it's just a picture of Tam getting stabbed or something.
Yeah.
That'd be bad.
That'd be bad.
You know what's interesting that I just thought of? So I'm just going back to the picture, but was it actually a full moon? Yes, right?
The picture? Yeah.
Yeah, the
No,
picture.
the picture's a full moon, but do we know it's a full moon in the story?
Well, Rand notes that the full moon is high in the sky by the time they go for supper.
I'm just wondering, drawing inferences for you, but I'm looking at the cover of the book, and it's a full moon here too. So is this close or is this far away? Do we have a whole moon?
Oh, Spencer, blowing my mind.
Right? Full moon right here.
Okay, well maybe. I'm going to have to go with probably not. Probably not tonight.
Not another full moon?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
a full moon from now.
I think anyone who doesn't have the book in front of them has to go either Google a picture of the cover or...
Yeah, get on board.
Yeah.
Read
All this
paperbacks.
moon talk, yeah.
Read paperbacks, people. Okay, so...
Okay, sorry, enough about the moon.
No, that's okay. That was an interesting point. I'm having a hard time seeing how this night, like, how much left of it really could there be? And he's going to somehow get all the way to the village, find Moraine and Lan, and then they're going to go off on an adventure all tonight. Maybe. Stranger things have happened. Trollocs busted in the farmhouse.
Right.
So
he's probably going to have to eat some food before they leave too, so.
he might have to, because the last time he ate, was when he was eating Master Alvir or Mistress Alvir's honey cakes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So Rand is fussing over Tam now, starting us off chapter 6 here. He's checking out his wound, but he's struggling to see in the dark. And it turns out that Tam's wound is relatively a minor cut. And Tam usually probably could just work right through a cut like this. But for some reason, for sure, nothing this bad could be causing the fever. That's what Rand thinks.
Yeah, he's seen his dad take worse. And like, you know, he can definitely get injured doing farm work and everything like that. So he's seen his dad take worse hits and just keep on working.
Than just like a small cut.
Yeah, a small scrape or whatever. I think he said the length
of his hand. Yeah. But so the flesh around this small gash is burning to the touch. So I think that he was hit with like the Trolloc weapon, this scythe sword.
Okay.
And I think it might have some either kind of poison or some magic poison.
It's like tetanus, just like.
Or some magic spell on it, maybe to do more damage than normal.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Like plus 10 poison damage, something like that.
Right, like in The Walking Dead when they get their swords.
Oh, the zombie guts.
All the zombie guts to infect them with their cuts rather than kill.
And to be fair, the Trollocs probably aren't the most hygienic creatures, so.
Probably not.
I don't think it has to do with hygiene.
Just like dirty swords?
No, I think it probably.
Actual poison?
I think it has to do with magic.
Magic, okay.
Magic.
I'm just always going to assume it's magic. It's either magic or science, and I don't think there's much science in this book.
Okay.
Magic right now.
Magic right now.
I think it's some sort of, Trolloc weapon that causes more damage than.
Okay. Well, regardless, the fever probably, if the.
I don't know.
That's okay.
It's bad. The fever's bad. Tam is muttering. Rand is afraid he's going to be a husk of his former self if he doesn't get him to Nynaeve.
Well, to be fair, severe fever can lead to, brain issues.
Yeah, and it can also kill you.
Or just kill you straight out, So
this is serious.
Yeah, so Rand gets lost in thought about these creatures and potentially a Fade coming to break down their door. And when he realizes he stopped bandaging Tam, he thinks scornfully about himself. So again, very hard on himself for just having these natural thoughts.
Yeah.
So Tam is moaning, and Rand says he needs to be quiet. And in response, Tam says, "You're still lovely, Kari." Is that how you pronounce it?
Carrie.
Carrie?
Carrie Althoria.
How do you think you pronounce it? Yeah, you're good.
I was going Carrie. Yeah.
Carrie. Okay. See, I always just go for the most not normal.
Fair enough.
But
well, there's no silent H's here too, so.
Yeah, you know what? That's surprising. They easily could have put a
KH.
Couple of H's. KHARI8.
Yeah.
But I feel like this spelling, it's not spelled like the typical spelling of Carrie, so that's how you know it actually is Carrie.
Oh.
Yep. There you go.
Okay.
Figured it out.
Thanks, Spencer. So this is, of course, Rand's mother, and she's been dead for 15 years. So we get an actual date timeline on how long she's been dead. And so Rand knows this fever is really bad and it's causing like hallucinations.
Yeah, and if he's thinking that long ago, like Rand would have just been just like a little kid.
Right.
Like we're guessing how old Rand is right now.
Right. And so even if we were guessing at like 19 or 20, he would have been 4 or 5 when his mom died.
Which makes sense why Rand doesn't really know much about his mother.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So Rand creates this makeshift cart out of blankets and the shafts from the broken cart to drag Tam on.
Mm-hmm.
So he's about to set off, but he decides to take Tam's sword belt and put it on, and he thinks it feels awkward and really heavy. But then he angrily berates himself, like just for having these regular thoughts. He's never worn a sword before. Why would it feel natural and normal? Why is he so mean to himself?
But it's interesting too, because he talks about that the sword is quite light, but it feels so heavy. It's not that the sword is actually that heavy.
There's the physical weight.
It's like, he thinks it's kind of like a burden, and then he gets mad at himself for feeling that it's like a burden.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's up to him now. Like if Tam dies now, Rand for sure is going to feel like it's his fault because he didn't do enough, right?
Yeah.
Well, if the Trollocs come back, he has to use that sword.
Yeah. He will have to defend them, right? Like.
Yeah. So he thinks killing the Trolloc was all luck, and he would never be able to do it again. And I think, on the contrary, Rand, I think you have a natural knack for this fighting thing. Look at what your father just did. It's clearly in your genes.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a theory.
Yeah.
That's a theory.
Rand decides to travel through the trees instead of taking the road. It'll be harder and it'll take longer, but it'll be safer because they can't get to the village if they're dead.
That's true.
So my question is, prior to this, his plan was to take the horse and the cart. Was he going to take the horse and the cart through the trees? Or, like, I don't understand. Maybe he was going to go faster racing down the road if he had the horse and the cart.
Yeah, he could maybe outrun Trollocs
Yeah,
if
just
he had
like
a horse.
book it down the road.
Because his original plan actually is to go down the road, and then he gets to the road and he thinks, what the fuck am I thinking?
Death sentence.
What?
Yeah.
Wide out in the open like this? No way. So then he heads back into the forest.
Yeah, so probably originally his plan was take the road with the horse, right? But
Yeah. Fast.
So every sound in the wood makes him halt and freeze, and he begins to get really tired, which makes him slow down even more. So this sucks. He's so cold and tired, and he never even got to eat the stew, so he's starving.
Right.
So at this point, suddenly, Tam yells out about something. He says, they came over the dragon wall like a flood. How many died for Lamon's sin?
Yeah, and wash the land with blood.
And with blood, yeah.
Yeah. So Rand doesn't really think much about this. He thinks this is kind of some strange nonsense his dad's yelling about. And he tries to calm him down. He's more concerned about shutting him up than what he's actually saying. Like, he's trying to be so quiet. He knows that Trollocs are good hunters. They're good trackers. They have excellent hearing. He's trying to be so quiet. And then now his dad's just yelling out. So he's not even really paying attention to what he's saying. He's just trying to shut him up.
It's just like fever dream rambling, essentially, is what Rand thinks about it.
Yeah. But then Tam just goes on about the savages and a battle and something about the field of Marath.
Yep, Field of Marath.
Carpeted with the dead. And he goes on describing destruction, and Rand is just trying to shut him up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to dig into this a little bit, Spencer? About what he's saying? Did you have any notes on this part?
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't take a lot of notes on this part.
Okay. The only one major point I want to point out about this paragraph, because...
Me neither. It's okay.
Well, we don't know most of these things,
no,
right?
That's what I was thinking.
But one thing that is on the map is Kyrian. So he says the topless towers of Kyrian burning in the night like torches.
I wouldn't have pronounced it like that. Okay. Kyrian.
Yeah, so Kyrian is on the map, and it's like far east, pretty far, almost the extreme of the map. So that's really the only reference point we have. But my big question for you, because in these ramblings, do you think that these are just, random ramblings, or do you think there's some basis in truth here?
Starting out, what he's saying, I don't pay much mind to it because Rand doesn't pay much mind to it. So as a reader, I'm basically in the mind of Rand, and because he's not paying much mind, I don't think to pay much mind. And it sounds like a little bit of nonsense, especially at the beginning, because he's talking about, his dead wife of 15 years, and then he's talking about like some battle, and he's talking about things now. And I mean, obviously I finished the chapter, so I have a little bit more of an idea here. But while I was reading through this, I actually didn't think too much about it.
Let's move forward and then come back to it afterwards.
Yeah, okay. So when a rhythmic thudding in the distance starts growing stronger, Rand is trying to figure out where it's coming from. So on the quarry road, Rand can make out a horse and a rider followed by bulky shapes. And Rand knows at once that this is the cloaked rider. The same guy from before. His cloak is undisturbed by the wind, and he gets the same feeling of hatred. So behind the rider are at least 20 Trollocs, and they run up the road and run past where Rand and Tam are when they don't seem to be seen. And I have a prediction, because Narg said that the Myriad, what's his name?
Murderal, yeah.
Right, that one.
The Fade.
The Fade. Just say Fade.
The Fade is coming to talk to them, and he seems scared of him, so he's probably some kind of leader.
Okay.
And I believe that this guy is a Fade.
Like the man on the horse in front of
the rider, the black rider.
The cloaked rider that they've just been going on and on about all day, and everyone's concerned about, and only shows himself to the young
So you think
men,
that's the Fade?
I think that's the Fade.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not 20 feet tall.
That's
with eyes of fire.
Yeah, it could have been part of the story, and we can't see his eyes.
Okay, that's
so
true.
We know that these guys are all from the stories, and the whole 20 feet tall thing could be an exaggeration. But we also know they go invisible when they turn sideways.
Yeah.
And we know when Rand saw him the first time in the forest, he was there, and then all of a sudden wasn't.
Okay.
Fair enough.
We also know that they can sort of like wisp through walls and stuff.
Mhm.
And so if they have this sort of weird undefined magic, maybe that's why his cloak doesn't move in the wind.
Okay. So that kind of adds more evidence that this rider is the Fade.
Yeah, or a Fade.
Or a Fade, yeah. One of many then.
Because I don't think they ever said the Fade.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, well, Narg doesn't use the word the very much, so.
No,
You talk
Narg never uses the word fade.
Rand refers to a fade.
Rand thinks of the Fade.
The Fade, yeah.
Yeah, or a Fade. He knows of a Fade, right?
Yeah.
So I've put 2 and 2 together here. That's just my prediction. So he's clearly in charge of the Trollocs, and Rand knows stories from them about being terrible. And he's thought to himself, what kind of thing are Trollocs scared of? And this guy is definitely someone the Trollocs could be potentially scared of.
Which is odd, because he's like man-sized. He's not a huge, gigantic creature,
Maybe
too.
because of magic, he can make himself different sizes. If
Okay.
he can go invisible and go through walls,
He
why
can make
not?
himself 20 feet tall.
Why not? Alice in Wonderland situation.
Yeah.
And Rand knows this, whatever this rider is scary because of the feeling of hatred, but also he specifically mentions that the supposed Fade is out front and the Trollocs are behind him, and the rider's not watching the Trollocs behind him, and he says, what man or what real man would ever not watch Trollocs if they were behind him? So he thinks this is something supernatural. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm feeling here. So if it's not a Fade, it's definitely something bad. It's not just like a regular like bad guy. It's not like a thief.
Yeah.
Or
It's a bad guy.
It's not just like a regular human.
Yeah.
Rider.
Well, and they're coming,
in any case.
they're coming from the direction of Emmons Field.
Yes, I have that down here.
So Rand and Tam are coming west to east into Emmons Field, and they're on the road coming east to west towards the farm from Emmons Field.
Yeah.
We don't know if they are like we're from Emmons Field. It's just that direction. So.
Right. Okay. So I like this little quote right from the book here. It says, something told Rand to be certain, absolutely certain, they were gone before he moved. Yeah, Rand, common sense told you that.
Well, he messed up with the whole Narg situation.
Well, exactly. Like, oh, something told him. Yeah, his fucking brain told him.
Fear
Told him. Of course, you're going to be quiet until you're sure they're gone.
Well, it's a good thing he did that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank goodness.
That's your common sense, buddy. So he's definitely right to do so because the rider ends up coming back to do a double check.
Yeah, and this is an awesome Lord of the Rings like reference.
Yeah.
With Dark Rider, side of the road, hiding from the Dark Riders.
Like in the tree.
Same thing.
That part, is that what you're talking about?
100%.
When they're in the tree roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do the whole head swiveling. And I think I've read before that some people like complained that this is totally like a little fantasy trope that he took from Lord of the Rings, but it's just a head nod, right? Like that's an awesome little piece. And it's not identical, but it's a similar feel.
The rider here is slowly looking around and looks right at where Rand is, and he feels that hatred again. But the rider
is more specific. He feels a hatred for everything that lives.
Yeah, whoa. Yeah, so definitely that bad news bears. But the rider decides to just move on and follows the Trollocs westward towards the mountains and the farm, which is concerning. And I have here, they came from the east, and Emmons Field is directly east. So my gut feeling is they're coming from Emmons Field, and shit was fucked up there too.
Beltane's over.
So getting to Emmons Field isn't going to be a happy event necessarily.
Oh, well, that's just my gut feeling, because what else is directly east? Where would they be coming from? There's not much here, right? There's the mountains on one side, there's a river and a forest on one side, on the other, then there's Emmons Field. Like there's literally nowhere else they could be coming from.
Something else that I think is important here is that we note that thankfully Rand does not move until he's sure they're gone. But when the rider comes back, the rider and the horse don't make a sound. So Rand knows that, if he doesn't keep his eye on them, the only way he can locate them is through his vision. So if he doesn't watch them, they could sneak up behind him at any second.
Well, exactly. And that's terrifying. My God.
Yeah. So there's magic. It's obviously magic.
Obviously.
Yeah, not science, like you said. It's
No,
magic.
I don't think there's much science here, guys. I hate to break it to you.
Well, the rider does like a double, like he goes back and forth and then back.
So when it's safe, and for sure the rider has galloped away towards the mountains and the farm, Rand starts making his way again, and even more tired than before, he thinks about what it would be like in Emmonsfield right now. And I just think more foreshadowing about how terrible it must be in Emmonsfield.
Well, and he's not thinking about the fact that they're coming from that direction.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
He's going through a lot right now, though, so that kind of makes sense.
That's true. He's exhausted. He's dehydrated. He's hungry. His brain is obviously not functioning.
Yeah, trauma brain.
Yeah.
Okay, so they keep going, and Tam is clearly so feverish. He speaks out again, and again, it sounds just like nonsense to Rand. He says this word,
Avendasora.
Avendasora. That's what I was gonna say.
Yep.
Avendasora, and I'm thinking maybe that might be some kind of tree, because he refers to a sapling that was brought as a royal gift.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Rand is carrying on, only really half listening at this point, because he clearly can't shut his dad up and he needs to just keep going. So this sapling was brought as a royal gift to
Kyrian.
Oh, I was going to say no, I don't know what I was going to say. Karheim. It's in Germany.
Yeah.
Karheim.
Got it.
Well, that was the topless towers that Tam was talking
Yes.
about.
You already did that word.
Yeah. Carrion. What did you say it was?
Kai.
Kai?
Rien.
Kyrian.
Kyrian.
Good.
Kyrian. Simple.
Super easy. It's kind of like Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Ah.
Kylo Ren.
Sounds like
Just call it Kylo Ren.
I will. So, so it was a peace offering, and it grew for 500 years. 500 years of peace. It was cut down, but why? Blood was the price for...
Avendoral Dara.
Yeah, that one. So blood was the price for Lamon's pride. And this actually reminds me a little bit of the dragon,
Okay.
because everything went to shit because of his pride.
Yeah.
So, like, pride is a big theme here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just pride, it's the sin. So in the previous sentence that Tam was starting the fever dreams on, he says, how many died for Laman's sin?
Right.
And then we hear that why did he cut it down? So this Laman cut down the tree sapling,
Yeah.
Avendoral Dara.
Except it wasn't a sapling. It was 500. It was a 500-year-old tree.
The sapling, it was a sapling from Avendasora,
Right.
Yeah.
And Avendasora is
the tree of life.
the tree of life.
So yeah, we find out immediately that Avendasora is like from legend, the tree of life. So the tree of life sapling was cut, given to Laman as a kingly gift 500 years, or wasn't given to Laman possibly, but Laman was the one who cut it down after 500 years.
And I'm like, why would he do that? It was 500 years of peace for people who don't make peace.
Yeah.
So that
We don't know who doesn't make peace, but
the people.
yeah, the people.
Okay, so Rand starts wondering about what Tam is dreaming about. He knows about Avendasora and the Tree of Life, but that belongs to the Green Man.
Yeah. So the Green Man could probably the keeper of it, right? So, and that's all we get.
Tree of Life, Green Man, okay. I'm sorry, I remember when I first read this, and I just keep thinking of the guy on the Green Giant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you.
Oh, like the
Green Giant, like
like the green beans guy.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's who the Green Man is.
I hate to admit it, but that's how I always pictured that.
Yeah.
Just a big green man.
Yeah.
On a mountain of vegetables. Okay, guys. So Rand thinks to himself, like, he thought that these were just stories, but now who knows? Who knows what's true? Who knows what's stories? Who knows what's real? Turns out probably all of it's real. If Alex and Fades and whatever are all real, well, who's to say this Green Man and Avendasora, Tree of Life, isn't real?
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to go to Animal Kingdom. That's where the tree of life is.
Mm.
You know, Lanking.
Oh yeah, okay.
No? No takers
Maybe.
on that joke? Oh.
I mean, that's a pretty out there
Just crickets,
prediction here.
Okay. Well, Tam was talking about a battle and the stink of death. And there is, dead people everywhere. The battle is really hot because of all the blood and all the fighting and everything. So he says he wants to get away from it, and he wondered why he's hearing a baby crying. Sometimes there are women fighting in these battles, but why would anyone give birth out here? None of this makes sense. Turns out there is a baby, and the mother died. This baby is blue from cold in the snow. This crazy story that Tam is telling right now in his fever dreams. And he couldn't just leave this baby because it should be dead, but it's just crying instead. And he makes mention to that, we have no children of our own, always knew she wanted children. And then he says, Kari has a kind heart. So all of a sudden, all of these ramblings that could have just been stories that he heard or read, all of a sudden it's super personal. His fucking wife is there who can take in a baby. And then he says, yes, Rand is a good name.
Bomb drop.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Rand's a good name. Rand's adopted.
It's about him.
It's about him. Oh my God, it's all about him.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So this is like a bombshell.
Crazy, crazy bombshell. Oh my God. It explains everything. It explains why Rand has light eyes and no one else does. It explains why he's like this giant, tall guy before he's full grown.
Yeah, it pretty much explains everything about it.
Why he's so different from everybody in the Two Rivers.
And if we timeline things, this tells us a ton about Tam, right?
Oh.
So let's back this up.
This is like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I just want to streamline this real quick.
Okay,
so
go, Brett.
From these fever dreams, we know that first off, the Avendasora is the tree of life, sapling cut off, Avendor Dara, given to someone probably in Cairhien, right? 500 years of peace, and Lawman's sin, which is essentially cutting down this sapling. I know it's not a sapling, but cutting down the sapling sparks this war. For the people who made peace by giving this tree, there's no longer peace. And in Tam's first fever dream ramblings, he's talking about a war, about them sweeping over the dragon wall, right? Leaving us, pools of bodies and blood and fire, leveling Cairhien. The topless towers of Cairhien are on fire. And then we get a real personal look at Tam being on the slope of a mountain. So let me ask you, what mountain have we come across so far in this series?
Dragon Mount.
Boom, Dragon Mount.
Got it.
Now we know that Dragon Mount likely is where Tam is, in the middle of this battle, right? And like, why would a pregnant woman be there, obviously? But then he finds this baby on the slope of Dragon Mount.
And in the middle of this war, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll
pick up a baby.
Let's just have this baby. We want one. Yeah. And that also brings up a question. Like, there's fertility issues in this.
Yeah, it sounds like Carrie they haven't been able to conceive.
She always wanted a baby.
Always wanted a baby. And that would explain why Carrie's an outlander, right? If Tam left for this war, he's been gone for a long time.
Do we know for sure that Tam is even from the Two Rivers?
At this point, we don't know.
No.
So it's possible that he's from the out there.
Yeah.
And they ended up wanting to maybe settle.
Could be
far away.
Away. But Tam is so well respected in that Emmonsfield community.
That's true.
That either he's been there forever and they know him, or he's done a lot to earn a lot of respect.
Definitely. And this kind of links back to Nynaeve, or the questions that Maureen was asking Nynaeve about who's from the Two Rivers, when people were born, everything like that too. So we don't really know how that conversation went down. But that kind of answers a lot of questions about why Tam is so good with the sword if he's in the middle of this battle.
Right. Okay. So at this, Rand, who's been sort of half listening to these nonsense, talkings, his legs lose all their strength and he falls to his knees and he tells himself, it's just fever dreams. It's just fever dreams. And he goes, you are my father, and reaches out to touch Tam's face. But his fever is still worse. And I just keep on thinking every time they touch him, it's worse and worse and worse. Maybe it's the same and he's just really hot. But like how can you really tell? You have no gauge. It's cold out. He feels hot.
Right.
He's got a fever. It's still worse. It's still worse. It's worse. It's even worse yet. Okay. All right. It's a bad fever.
Yeah.
So
We get it.
picks him back up and carries on, but with a lot to think about. And he ends this chapter by thinking, light, who am I? So dramatic.
Yeah. Understandably so, because his whole life, like finding out this way.
This is bad.
Yeah. It's like Tam clearly never had this conversation
No.
with his son about
No,
anything.
Really, he's
Yeah.
been hiding a lot.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
So sheltered. And I wonder why. Why would he want to hide that part? Like, it's just been him and Rand for 15 years. He's had to hide who he truly is and what he's been through from this kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't get why. Why does he have to hide that?
Well, I want to point out one other thing in that last fever dream rambling. Tam said that their women sometimes join the fight.
Yeah.
Beat me to it again.
Do you want to?
No, you didn't talk over me. I was just going to get to that point, but
Do you want to take this one?
well, yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah. What I find really interesting in the last piece of Tam's fever dream is that he talks about a people whose women fight with the men, and up until this point, this world we've built has been very traditional.
Oh
we have
my
the first
God,
wife-
Spencer. It's been so, quote, traditional that's been driving me nuts.
Right. And so now, for the first time, we have a people, we don't know who these people are, but we have a people whose women fight alongside the men. So there's parts of this world where things aren't so
Already
traditional.
exists.
Yeah, it's not so traditional. Two rivers.
Well, it's just very, very segregated between the men and the women.
And that means
the
one
two
really
rivers.
important thing too, because if Tam's referring to it as their women fight, not his people, his side of the war fight, it means that Rand came from not his side of the war.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And that's what I mean
So
by,
he's essentially the son of an enemy.
yeah, but that part I assumed was quite obvious because he has gray eyes. His
Yeah.
light eyes, he's clearly not from there.
Yeah.
So I thought that part was pretty obvious.
Yeah. So just huge bombshell.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's crazy.
Whoa.
And that basically wraps this up. And as soon as we stop here, I'm going to go read chapter 7 because I need to find out what happens next.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Because I'm hooked.
I think we got to make some predictions here.
Okay.
Well, and by we, I mean you.
I know. I won't make any predictions.
Yeah. So my prediction, I think I've already made it. I think
Sure.
that Emmonsfield has also been hit.
How bad? Everyone's dead. No one's dead. 50% of the population is.
Yeah, okay.
What are we talking here?
I definitely don't think the people that we care about are dead.
You
Yeah.
don't think you
So what
did
about
this yet?
Specifically, we've been introduced to the peddler, the gleeman, the strangers, Perrin, Matt, Nynaeve, Egwene.
Yeah. They're all probably still alive.
Okay.
I'm going to go with their
So just like random people maybe have like no-name characters?
I think that I don't know what these Trollocs and this Black Rider are looking for or why they're here, but it sounds to me like they're looking for something specific, and I know they kill for the sake of killing, for the fun of killing, but if people were able to sort of hide,
Sure.
I think they're looking for something, and I
Well,
don't
they
know what it
haven't-
is yet.
They haven't, well, the writer also hasn't just revealed himself to Rand,
No.
right? So it's possible that he's not the only farm necessarily that was hit either.
Other young boys have seen the rider.
So it
Definitely.
could be,
At
yeah.
least 5 for sure that we know of.
So it could be like targeted in that sense too.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if in Emmonsfield they only saw the Trollocs, or if they also saw if the rider revealed himself to any more people.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking about going forward here.
What about Tam? What do you think about the fate of Tam?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping for some positivity.
Okay.
I'm just gonna root for him. I'm not gonna put any ill will onto Tam at
Okay.
this point because I think that would be mean.
Okay.
So I'm going with he's gonna be okay because Rand really needs to find out what the heck's going on
He
here.
needs to ask his dad some serious questions.
Yeah, and if he can't, although now that I'm saying that, if he can't ask his dad, it's probably going to trigger a adventure,
Okay.
Hmm.
What about
a quest to find out where he's from.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
if Dad doesn't make it and he can't find out his answers. So, I mean, there's a lot here. This is quite the setup for what's to come.
Now,
Yeah,
I don't. Oh,
sorry.
yeah. Oh, no, you can go, Spencer.
So my question is, I don't know what you guys talked about last chapter, but I know that at the end of last chapter, we learned that there are 5 boys for sure who have seen the Black Rider. And we also know that one of the strangers in town, Moraine, seems particularly interested in a few of the young boys around town. So Danielle, I'm just wondering what you think about the young boys around town and why this seems to be they seem to be a key part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I've already made the prediction that she's the Aes Sedai.
Okay.
Is that right?
You did.
So I've already made that prediction, and I predicted that Lan's a warder who is bonded to protect her. Because I mean, I can't quite imagine what else they would be. That's a pretty unique pairing and a very specific description of this specific pairing. So that's my wild prediction on that. So I think that we know the Aes Sedai are riding south because of this war.
Okay.
And so I think that she knows about the dark magic that's sort of happening, with a dragon / false dragon.
Okay.
And I think that she's taking interest in these boys maybe because she knows they're going to be targeted for some reason. I don't know if it's because of their age. I told Brett last time that maybe it's a generational thing, but at this point I think it's just too early to tell and make wild accusations.
No, I like those predictions. Now, most important question, Bella.
Oh,
Right.
Oh, tear. I don't know. I thought that she was gonna sort of come and like save them in the woods and
that would be so sweet.
And help out and just like run up and be like, "Oh, guys, I'm here now." But that didn't happen.
That did not happen. No.
No.
So I think her fate is sealed, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
shed a tear for Bella.
Okay.
You never know. I'm hoping that she comes back.
Okay.
But
I mean, if we're following Game of Thrones, we did not see her die. So
there we go. You did not. So.
And the last time I'll ask you this question, Matt's Badger.
Yeah, Matt's Badger is.
Do you think Dav released him on his own, or do you think this badger's still caught up somewhere?
He's probably caught up somewhere, but I'm gonna go with the Trolloc killed him.
Trolloc killed and ate him too? Or?
No, they don't eat them because all the sheep didn't get eaten. They just got killed.
That's true. They kill for fun. We learned that. So.
Yeah, and I was upset. I was looking forward to that funny prank with the badger, but
you really were. I listened to parts of that.
Yeah.
But no, unfortunately, I think that that's over, and I think we're into new territory here. Guys.
Yeah.
Real serious, like.
Stuff's gonna happen.
It's an adventure now.
We're going on an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe.
Who knows?
I know. There's 15 books.
It's not such a cheerful adventure as the one that, Bilbo got to go on.
Bilbo's adventure was not cheerful.
At the beginning.
At the beginning, he thought he was going on a great adventure and it was going to be fun.
Yeah. He wasn't carrying his half-dead father out of the woods.
Well, like maybe
Brad's adventure does not seem fun so far. His dad's almost dead. His horse. Yeah, it's not good.
No, he's not like skipping out of the Shire.
Yeah, I'm going on an adventure. Yeah, not like that.
Quite.
Yeah.
But maybe things will be opposite for him. Bilbo was all excited and then it went super downhill. But this is starting bad and maybe it's going to go all uphill.
Okay.
Maybe.
That might be the worst prediction yet.
Okay, well, I think that this is where we got to wrap it up because I'm eager to go read, guys.
Yeah, all right.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll for sure have you back in a couple of chapters.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Yeah, and I think that I know we were joking about it before about this being a therapy session, but I feel like this was the first chapter.
This one for sure is my Wheel of Time therapy session.
Yes.
For sure. Okay, guys. Well, that'll do it for our episode of The Wheel Weaves.
All right, till next time.
Till next time. Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Wheel Weaves. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. It does mean a lot to us and makes a big difference. Please tell your friends or anyone who might like us or anyone who's thinking of getting into the series. You can find us on social media on Instagram at The Wheel Weaves Podcast and on Twitter at The Wheel Weaves Podcast. If you feel like you'd like some bonus content and waiting a week is just too much for more of the Wheel Weaves. You can also find some insider, exclusive looks, and to support us making great content, you can head to patreon.com/thewheelweavespodcast. Thanks to Audionautics for the music, and thanks to you awesome listeners. See you next Tuesday.